Hello everyone, and in this video we'll be discussing about ant colony optimization, and this ant colony optimization is divided into two parts. In first part, the first four subtopics will be discussed. In the second part, the last three subtopics will be discussed. And the overview of this video presentation goes like this: introduction, terminology, real ants and its characteristics, the algorithms, the parameter and steps involved in this algorithm, and ant systems, the different ant systems, and the two very important parameter, or I can say terminologies, stigmergy and auto-catalyzation. So the first four topics will be dealt in this video. The last three will be dealt in part 2 video. So introduction, your ant colony optimization is the probability-based technique, which is used to solve the computational problem and which can be reduced to find the good path through graphs. It studies the artificial system that takes inspiration from the behavior of real ant colonies and which are used to solve the discrete optimization problem. Actually, initially it is proposed by Marco Dorigo, Milan, Italy, in the year 1992 as part of his PhD thesis. First, he developed the algorithm by aiming to search for an optimum path in a graph based on the behavior of ants seeking a path between their colony and the food resource. And the developed algorithm is being used to solve the traveling salesman problem. So that's his real finding, and now it has got a different forms and versions, variations that all will be at least few glimpses we'll be discussing in this course. Ants are small animals or insects that lives in a colony in or on the ground. With this real life definition, ant colony optimization is a method in which imaginary agents are used. So the ants are the main agents in collecting the food. Daemon action. Daemon action is nothing but can be taken to centralize the solution. The aim of daemon action is to prevent convergence of the algorithm. Decentralized control. This term is related to robustness and flexibility. Robustness is a very desired character because it's nothing but the ability of continuing the function even if there is a breakdown of one of their components. We would have witnessed this if one or two ants missed or leads to different places. Even then the actual work continue, and those missed ants comes back after some time. Due to some reason it may be missed from the path line, then again it comes back. That means if one or two elements breaks, even the system has to run, and that tells you the robustness of the system. So that's very important character for any optimization process. So and the same thing is existing, so that's been discussed, and then comes your dense hierarchy. The term is taken from biology and represents the organization of an ant colony. It's different from managerial term hierarchy. In the case of hierarchy, the arrangement is vertical. You can see there is a boss, below that there is an employee, below the low level employee comes. This is the vertical arrangement in the case of hierarchy, whereas hierarchy is nothing but it is a structure which is arranged in a horizontal manner. You can see the first two are the shortest path elements, members, and the last four ants represents the longest path elements or longest path agents. So that's about the hierarchy. See, the shortest path will have a less dense, and the longest path will have the highest dense, more ants. Another important parameter is pheromone. Pheromone is nothing but it's a chemical material spread over the path by the ants wherever it goes, and the level of it changes over time by evaporating. On the other hand, in ant colony optimization, pheromone is a parameter. The amount of this parameter determines the intensity of the trial, the path trial. The intensity of the trial can be viewed as a global memory of the system. Next comes the real ants. Almost the ants are blind and it is incapable of achieving complex tasks alone. But as a group, as a colony, it can achieve a complex task. Rely on phenomena of swarm intelligence for survival, and it's capable of establishing a shortest route path from their colony to the source and back. And it uses the stigmergic communication via pheromone trails. And it follows existing pheromone trails with high probability. So the pheromones are deposited on the path. It's nothing but more pheromones are deposited and it will have more attraction. When I have more attractions, that means more ants follow the trail, the path. So more ants follows a trial or more ants follow a trial path. That means more attractive that trial becomes for being followed. This type of things is, or otherwise I can say the ants follow the intense pheromone trial because there are more ants followed, more pheromones deposited, so it is more attractive. This combination, this what forms autocatalytic behavior. The process is thus characterized by the positive feedback loop where the probability of discrete path choice increases with the number of times the same path was chosen before. So that's about the real ants and its nature, and the same thing is used for your algorithm as well. So here if you see the ants initially starts from the net and goes around randomly. See, for example, if this is the net, ants net, from here, first of all, it has to choose the colony, that is the area where it has to visit. Then, and if it chosen this colony, this area, then within this area, the ants will take different route. Randomly, it will just go around and try to find the food resources. For here in this case, you see this is there are 3 positions available, 3 different locations. The food resources available. The ants started moving towards this and randomly, and upon finding the food resource, it may return to colony, it may return to net. While returning back, it may deposit pheromone trials. So if more returns, more pheromone will be deposited. If more deposited, and this path has got more probability of choosing it. So that is what we learned as previously, we just called that as autocatalytic behavior. So more hands follows, more attractive, and more pheromone. It's very intense to pheromones trials. So same thing happens here. You can see here more ants has followed, so it has got more possibility of choosing this. And if it is only if it is only one few, it may not be having a higher probability. This has got a highest probability, medium probability, and lowest probability. So it has got chosen by this. The algorithm, modeling of algorithm, how it has been described, let us see. So initially the ants will wander around randomly, and upon finding the food, returns to their colony. While on the way, what they laying down the pheromone trails. If other ants find such path, other ants also find such path, those ants are not allowed to roam around randomly. They have to follow the same trial and returning and reinforcing it by eventually after finding the food. Okay, over time what happens, however, the pheromone trail starts to evaporate, thus reducing its attractive strength. So here it is only few has been deposited, but still over a time this is evaporates, so it is disappears, ultimately disappears. The more time it takes, that means it's a far away source. Okay, the more time it takes for an ant to travel down the path and back again, means it's a far away food, far away resource, and since it's far away resource, and the pheromones have to evaporate, so it disappears almost. If it is a shortest path by comparison, okay, it is get marched over faster, and thus the pheromone density remains high. Here the pheromone density remains high as it slide on the path, and also as fast as it can evaporate, it has been lied on, so it is very strong, very dense to over here. Okay, so the pheromone evaporation has also have advantage that it is avoiding the convergence of locally optimum solution. That's the advantage we have. Okay, so you can see more ants returning and very less ants are returning. That's why it has been dropped, and this has been chosen as the best path, a shortest path. Okay, sometime, so we'll take some small story before getting to some more details. How the shortest path happens. Naturally observed hand behavior. Everyone would have observed this behavior in your lifetime. You would have come across this kind of incident in your lifetime. You can see from nest to food, and the ants follows a line. So as long as there is no obstacle, and all is well in the world of ant. But at the minute there is an obstacle appears and it blocks the path. So the ants, what it will do, it will be equally dividing, with equal probability it will get divided, and like for example n by 2 number of ants will flow upwards, and the remaining n by 2 number of ants will follow downwards. It will start flow like this. So there are 3 in the top and 3 in the down, so it will start flowing it while following this, while taking up this new path, they will deposit the pheromones, and then that's what, everybody will flip a coin and then it will start depositing it. At the end it finds the shortest path like this, and forms start flowing through this way. Even though there is obstacle there, it finds the path, and then the shorter path is reinforced. So this is naturally everyone would have observed it. To put it in single shot, you can see first one, everything is lined up. Real ants follow a path between the nest and food source this way. An obstacle appears on the path. You can see here the ant choose whether to turn left or right with equal probability. You can see 50 up, 50 down. N by 2 ants goes upward, and n by 2 ants goes downward. The pheromone is deposited and more quickly, and based on this pheromone, and the ants finds the shortest path, and then they choose the shortest path like this. So in short, in case if there is no evaporation conditions, what happens? Okay, if there is no evaporation, and what happens to the path choice, and what will be the terminology, equivalent terminology in the optimization theory? That's we're going to see here. So if no evaporation, then the path chosen by the first ant would tend to be very extremely attractive for the remaining following ants. An exploration of solution space would be called as constrained solution space. So when one ant finds a good path, need not to be short, it may be a good path from the colony to the food source, then other ants are more likely to follow the path. Maybe forcefully we are making it, or designed in such a way that it follows the first ant's path. In the previous example, shortest path has been ensured. But if evaporation is not there, every path will have a strong attraction. So which one to follow will be a confusion among the ants. So which path will be followed means automatically the first ant, the leader, maybe you can call it as a leader, the first ant's location, a path will be automatically will be followed by the remaining ants. So that because of the positive feedback eventually leads all the ants following a single path. That means we are trying to mimic this behavior with a simulated ant. The first ant is the simulated ant walking around the graph representing the problem to solve. That may be the demand of the problem, so we may be using that type of constraints like this. If we are not evaporating, this is constraint optimization. That's it. The evaporation, if there is no decaying coefficient, evaporation decaying coefficient, then it becomes constrained optimization. That's it. So here one example we are taking it. Another example, observing the exploitation of food resources among the nets. Okay, they have come up with some decision with three different picture representation. So from this, what we understand, the first point is, as we already discussed, a single ant cannot solve a complex problem. It's a collective effect. But still, individually limited with the individually limited cognitive abilities, and they are able to do. The cognitive abilities have collectively been able to find the shortest path between the food source and the net. That has been explained with these three pictures. The first picture tells you that N and F, the net and the food. So the ants follows the path A. Ants reaches the food through any path, that is we call it as A. There are four paths there, any one path it can use to reach any path can use to reach any one path. Obviously any one path it can follow to reach the food, and then returns back to nets. While returning back, it will leaving behind the trail pheromones. So while returning back, it may lay down the pheromones. So what happens immediately? The ants indiscriminately follow four possible way while returning, but at the same time, it may strengthening the runway by depositing more pheromones. That means if there are more pheromones deposited, it will become more attractive. And as you should, as like if it's a shorter path, more ants will follow the runway, and so it is a shorter path will be a more attractive path. So you can see out of this four, there is a like this is the first path, this is the second path, and this is the third path, and this is the fourth path. Out of this four, the third path has been chosen at the end because it has got the pheromones been deposited in this path is more, and the pheromone has strengthened the attractiveness of this particular path. So ants take this shorter route, and because it will be there for longer time, and the remaining long distance trial phenomenon would have been evaporated if evaporation has been considered. Okay, so the ants will not be following the any other longest path, it will follow only the shorter path. So that's about this. And yeah, and there have been series of experiments has been conducted on colony of ants with the choice between two unequal length path leading to a source of food, and biologists have observed that ants tend to use the shorter routes like we discussed previously, and that model has been explained with the behaviors that follows this way. An ant runs at random around the colony, as we discussed. All the ants will be running blitz, otherwise called blitz, will be running randomly around the colony, and after discovering a food, it returns directly to the nets, leaving its path trail pheromones. And those pheromones are attractive, as we know, and so nearby ants will be inclined to follow the track. Returning to the colony, these ants will strengthen the route. If two routes are possible to reach the same food source, the shorter one will be in the same time traveled by more ants than the longer one. So it will be the shorter will be chosen automatically. The shorter route will be increasingly enhanced and therefore becomes more attractive. The longer route will eventually disappear because the pheromones are volatile. Eventually, all the ants have determined and therefore chosen the shorter route. That's how it goes. Then algorithm parameters. There are decision policies, mechanisms, and factors involved. Let us see one by one. The decision policies. There are basically two decision policies there. Basic philosophy of algorithm, which is based movement of colony of ants through a different states of problem influenced by two local decision policies. One is trial, the other one is called attractiveness. Trials are nothing but while level of trials or trial parameter, or otherwise we can call it as pheromones. Once it's been the trial pheromones are deposited, and each such incrementally construct a solution to a problem. So they may try to deposit more trials and make it as more attractive. And when it completes the solution or during the construction phase itself, it will be evaluated. It will evaluate the solution and modify the trial values on the component used in the solution. So it may add more phenomena, or it may sometime will not go that say it will evaporate. That means it's allowed to evaluate and modify the parameter, the trial parameters, the attractiveness. This pheromone information will direct the search of the future ants. So if there are more pheromones there, and more ants will be following, otherwise it may be skipped. So these are the two parameter decision policies. If there are more trials, more attractive. If less trials, less attractive. So these are the two decision policies. If more trial, that path will be followed. If more attractive, that path will be followed. If it is less, that will not be followed. So it is the ants will modify this trial values and attractiveness and evaluate the values. So based on that, it takes a decision whether to follow that route or not. So that's why it's called decision policies. And mechanisms, there are further there are two more mechanisms involved. One is called trial evaporation, the other one is dim action. As we know, evaporation is like trial evaporation will reduce all trial values over time, thereby avoiding any possibility of getting stuck in local optima. So there may be lengthy routes, trials, path. Though in those the trials will evaporate. So if there is and if it gets evaporated, then that path will not be chosen, and that may be a local optima value. So that will be since it evaporates, that will not be chosen. So that has been avoided here. So that's one point. And then dim action, what it does is it ensures that there is again it does the same thing. It is a centralized one. It ensures that it is taking the global optima, okay, to bias the search process from a non-local perspective and ensures that globally it is get optimized. So for that purpose, these two mechanisms have been included. Trial evaporation and dim actions are included. So from this we can understand, and trials, attractiveness, and evaporation, sometimes it's optional. This third one is optional, are the three important decision policies or mechanisms involved for your ACO. And of course there are factors involved which comes in the part of algorithms that also we'll discuss. So there are two factors which drives the probabilistic model. One is called visibility, the other one is called trial. The visibility is denoted by eta, which is equal to 1 by t, and the trial is denoted by tau, and it is, again, as I told you, it is nothing but intensity of trial or intensity of pheromone, the amount of pheromone, or trial level. Many names we can give, nothing wrong. And these two factors plays a vital role in the centralized probability transition function of an ant system. And apart from, in return, the weight of either factor in the translation function is controlled by two other variables called alpha and beta respectively. And significant study has been undertaken by a researcher to derive the optimum combination of this alpha and beta. If the high value of alpha has been observed, then it means that the trial is very important, and therefore the ants tend to choose the edge chosen by another ant in the past. So ant as an agent, what is an algorithm? So each ant is a simple agent. Already we have tagged this, and it chooses the, first of all it has to choose the colony to go to with the probability that is a function of colony distance and the amount of trial present on the edge. So it is not a simple function, it is probability of distance, the probability of distance and probability of amount of trial present. Based on that, the ants will choose a colony first of all, and then, and in that, to force an ant to make a legal trip to that colony, okay, and colony, we need to know few things. What is whether that colony is already visited, or that trip is completed. Until the trip is completed, um, and that particular colony, if it is not completed, it is permitted to flow. If it is completed, it is disallowed. Okay, disallowed. So that's about the colony choice. And then when it completes a trip, and completes a trip, and it lays a substance called trial on each edge I comma j visited. I comma j is the 2 points like a nest and food resource, and that connecting line is edge. Okay, you can see that it need not to be straight line, it may be like this, different path like this. This is your nest and this is your source means, and these are the different path, and that is formed by the edges. Okay, so that edges will have a weight value that we call it as trial. Each and every edges will have a weight value that we call it as trial, substance called trial. And the distance, the ij will have a distance. Dij is denotes the distance between the point, and attractiveness is the function which is chosen to be the inverse of the cost. And uh, tau denotes the intensity of the trial on the edges at particular time, and the trial intensity is updated every time after completion of algorithm cycle, at which time every ant will have completed the tour. And each ant subsequently deposit trial on trial of quantity, that is q by lk. Q is the number of ants in a particular colony, L is the length traveled by, or length of every edges visited by the individual tour. And this is very important, this how it is being used to decide the shortest route, this part. And the newly deposited trial will be denoted by del tau ij, and the trial deposition by all the ants. Following that, the trial value is updated using tau ij of t plus 1 will be equal to rho into tau ij of t, the previous intensity of trial, plus newly deposited trial value, that is the del tau ij. Okay, the updated intensity is equal to rho into a old intensity plus newly deposited intensity. The rho is nothing but rate of trial decay, that is otherwise called as pheromone evaporation coefficient per time interval, and the amount of deposited trial, that is a newly deposited trial, will be equal to it is, if there are m number of ants there, sum of all the ants newly deposited trial value will be the amount of deposited new trial value. All the ants will be contributing towards this. Next comes how to choose the edge. If there are n number of paths, which path will be selected? As we know, it is a probability model, so it is here also probability based model. An ant will be moving move from one node to another node with a probability where the probability is given by probability of I comma j is equal to um, tau alpha ij into eta beta ij divided by summation of tau alpha ij into uh, eta beta ij. The tau is the amount of ferromene on edge I comma j. The alpha is the parameter which is used to control the influence of tau I comma j. The alpha will be should be greater than or equal to 0, and eta ij is the desirability of the edge, and typically it will be 1 by dij, where d is the distance, and the beta should be greater than or equal to 1 and is a parameter which is used to control the influence of eta ij. If there is a kth and, the kth and updated trial deposit will be calculated by del tau kij is equal to 1 over lk, because there's only one kth and, there is no q and, so it is 1 over lk, where if and k travels on edge I comma j, and 0 otherwise. L is nothing but it's the cost of the kth and tool. Typically it's a length. With this we'll stop. We'll continue the ant colony optimization part 2 in the next video. Thank you very much.